Alright, so I've never used Unity and the task was quite simple. Steal Hotel Dusk's art style and remake it for a modern day PC 1440p monitor. But there was a problem. Hotel Dusk released in 1965 on a strange piece of Japanese technology left over from the Second World War, which had two screens on it for some fucking insane reason. One which was used by that game for the protagonist, and then one that was used for other stuff and other characters. Interestingly, this worked into its benefit. It added a lot of personality and character to what otherwise would be a point-and-click visual novel. Let's be real, it makes it look a lot more interesting in your typical Ren'Py game. Static character in the middle, static box at the bottom. I don't like this. It's a video game. I want it to feel interactive. I want it to feel like it's living and breathing. I want to see everything moving. So what did I do to make this character fit on the same screen as a background? Well, I slapped it in the bottom left corner. Surprisingly, there's immediate issues when you choose to do this. One example would be the dialog box. If you leave it in the top left the whole time and then you start clicking on interactables on the main screen in the background, your eyes aren't immediately diverted to the top left, or at least that's what I found when I was testing it out. I tried to solve that with having an idle animation and an active animation for it with high contrast so that the eyes kind of draw a bit more attention to it. There's other issues like horizontal screen space being taken away from the map, screen space is being wasted in the top left. For interactables that are in the bottom right, if you were to click on them, your eyes have to travel quite a far distance to get to the top left to start reading things, so you know the spacing's not great. There's issues with it. How did I solve these issues? So the way I approached learning and figuring out how to use Unity was with YouTube videos. I did not lock myself in a bunker reading 800 pages of documentation. I think Coding Jesus will be very mad at me. The good news is I know what a game object is, I know what prefabs are, I know how to make scripts in C# now, I know what a canvas is, I know what panels are, I know how to use scriptable objects kind of now. So after I made this rotoscoped animation, I showed it to a few people because again, feedback is like the most important thing, which is where you can come in and help me and you can go in the comments and tell me what you think of it. Give the art direction, give the UI overall, give the animation your thoughts out of 5. If you saw a snippet like that, would that look like a game where you're like, oh, I want to play that? Or is that like, oh, that looks unpolished, that's not interesting, that didn't grab my attention in any way? Those are very important things that I kind of want to pin down very early. So of the 5-ish people that have actually responded, 2 were on the Hotel Dusk Reddit that said it looked alright. After showing it to a few of my friends, I got different responses that varied from it looks alright to it looks good to it looks like you should swap the character panel and the dialog box around maybe. Here's a mock-up of what that might look like. And then I had another person that I asked that said, I like his scarf. So I'm going to count that one as a negative. 90% of my time spent coding was just fixing bugs. The way I tested all these components was I just basically spam clicked everything and saw if anything broke. There was a test pack I made at one point with an extensive list of test cases. For the record, I do agree, if your test pack has less occupied rows than the Etihad, you're probably doing something wrong with your testing. But in this specific situation, there's only one input, so you would think there's not really many bugs that can even be replicated. We had the first click being interpreted as a click to skip the dialogue at the same time because it's registering the input so quickly that I had to put a delay, an input delay on the actual dialogue skip line function. I had dialogues that would overlap if you'd click on one interactable and then a different interactable while the other one's playing because they weren't reserving things, so I just added a boolean for all of that stuff. I had the animation state desyncing because I didn't have it using a boolean system and I had it using like a trigger instead. And on the bright side, the bugs have been fixed. The dialogue system's using a scriptable object so I can expand it pretty easily in the future. And then on the downsides, I need to decouple my character from my dialogue box because there's code in the dialogue box that triggers the character. So if I delete the dialogue box from the screen, it breaks the character box because I haven't decoupled the logic. This code is so diabolical, it would get an unpaid intern fired. There's more spaghetti in this code base than all of Italy. Back to UI and back to what you need to do better with your UI. I don't even know. So what I discovered from this last few weeks is that not only my idea for my UI was worse than I thought, but the actual implementation ended up being worse than I thought. Something else I noticed is when I would like iterate upon my backgrounds, I'd redraw them or I'd add things to them. I noticed how much better they were looking in subsequent attempts. and it just kind of made me realize. And the same with the character, by the way. This is genuinely the first attempt that I had at drafting up what the character would look like versus what it looks like now. Like, it's absolutely diabolical. I just feel like until you make an improvement to the art and then you see the improvement, you don't realize how bad it looked before. I'm imagining that the same thing may happen in the future with the current art, but currently, from the sample size I've got of like 5 people, it's looking alright so far. So I obviously want comments. You better comment, I swear to God.